I caught my husband at a hotel with my own sister on our anniversary, so I emptied our joint bank account and blocked their entire family for good. Where are you watching from today? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories. My name is Elena, and 3 hours ago, I walked into the honeymoon suite of the Grand Oak Hotel to find my husband Mark in bed with my younger sister Qley, while the anniversary flowers I bought him were sitting on the nightstand. So I didn't say a single word. I just took a photo and went straight to the bank to drain every penny of our $300,000 joint savings account. We were supposed to be celebrating 10 years of marriage today. 10 years of me working 2 jobs to put him through medical school, 10 years of me supporting his family, and 10 years of trusting my sister Qley after our parents passed away. I had planned this surprise for months. Mark told me he had a mandatory overnight shift at the hospital and couldn't be home for our anniversary dinner. He looked me right in the eye this morning, kissed my forehead, and said he was so sorry he had to work, but that we would make it up this weekend. I felt bad for him, so I decided to bring the celebration to him. I called the hospital to drop off a gourmet lunch, only for the receptionist to tell me that Mark wasn't on the schedule and hadn't been for 3 days. My heart started racing, but I tried to stay calm. I thought maybe he was surprising me. I checked our shared iPad at home and saw a confirmation email for a luxury hotel just 10 minutes away. I thought, wow, he really got me. He's setting up a romantic getaway. I got dressed in my best dress, did my hair, and drove to the hotel with a smile on my face. When I got to the front desk, the clerk saw my ID and gave me a spare key card because Mark had listed me as a guest. I took the elevator to the penthouse floor, my heart fluttering with excitement. I stood outside room 502, took a deep breath, and swiped the card. I expected to see rose petals and candles. Instead, I saw my sister's designer heels kicked off in the hallway. Then I heard her laugh. That specific, high-pitched giggle she's had since we were kids. Then I heard Mark's voice. He said, "I wish we didn't have to hide this anymore. She's so boring compared to you." I walked into the bedroom, and there they were. The betrayal was so deep I couldn't even scream. Mark jumped up, his face turning a shade of purple I've never seen before. Qley just sat there, pulling the sheets up, looking at me with a smirk that told me she wasn't even sorry. "Elena, it's not what it looks like," Mark stammered. I didn't answer him. I pulled out my phone, took a clear photo of them together, and another photo of the champagne bottle they were drinking. Qley finally spoke up and said, "Oh please Elena, don't be so dramatic. You knew we were always closer anyway." I looked at her and felt nothing but cold, hard ice in my veins. I turned around, walked out of the room, and headed straight for the elevator. Mark was running down the hall after me, still trying to put his pants on, yelling, "Elena, wait. Let's talk about this. You're overreacting." I got into my car and locked the doors just as he reached the window. He was banging on the glass, begging me to listen. I ignored him and pulled out of the parking lot. I had exactly 40 minutes before the bank closed. This wasn't just any money. Most of that $300,000 came from a house I inherited from our grandmother, which I had sold and put into our joint account to buy our dream home next month. Mark had barely contributed 10% to it. I drove like a woman possessed. I walked into the bank branch where the manager knew me personally. I told her I needed to close the account and move the funds to a private account in my name only. She looked a bit surprised by the urgency, but since I was the primary holder and it was a joint account, she processed it immediately. I watched the numbers on the screen drop to 0. As soon as the transfer was confirmed, I sat in my car and started the second phase of my plan. I went through my phone and blocked Mark. Then I blocked Qley. Then I went through my contact list and blocked Mark's mother, his 2 sisters, and his arrogant father. They had all been living off my generosity for years. I paid for his mother's hip surgery last year. I paid for his sister's tuition. I realized in that moment that they probably all knew. They were probably all laughing at me behind my back while I was writing the checks. I opened our family group chat and posted the photo from the hotel room. I wrote, "Mark and Qley are finally together officially. Since they are so in love, they can pay for their own lives from now on. Don't bother calling me." I then left the group and blocked everyone in it. I drove to our house, packed 3 large suitcases with my most valuable belongings, and left the keys on the kitchen island. I called a locksmith and told him I wanted the house boarded up because I was the sole owner of the deed. Mark's name wasn't on the house because he had bad credit when we bought it. I called my lawyer and told her to start the divorce papers immediately with a focus on adultery and financial recoupment. By the time Mark finally got a ride back to the house, I was already checked into a different hotel under a fake name. My phone was blowing up with notifications before I blocked the final few people. Mark's mother had tried to leave a voicemail saying, "How could you be so heartless to leave us with no money? We have bills to pay." Qley sent a text from a burner number saying I was a psycho and that Mark never loved me anyway. I didn't care. I felt free. I spent the next 4 hours change every password to every account I owned. Netflix, Amazon, the utility bills, the car insurance, everything. I cut him off from the world. The next morning, I woke up to a knock on my hotel room door. It was my brother, Leo. He was the only one I hadn't blocked. He looked at me and said, "I saw the photo, Elena. I'm so sorry." I told him I didn't want pity, I wanted a drink. We sat in the hotel lounge, and he told me the chaos that was happening back at the house. Apparently, Mark had tried to go to the bank this morning to get money for a lawyer, only to find out he had exactly $12 in his personal account. He couldn't even pay for his car's gas. Qley had been kicked out of her apartment because I was the one co-signing her lease, and I had called the landlord to withdraw my guarantee. They were both currently sitting on the curb outside our house because the locksmith had finished his job and the police wouldn't let them in without my permission. Mark called Leo's phone while we were sitting there. Leo put it on speaker. Mark was crying. "Leo, please, tell Elena I'm sorry. I made a mistake. Qley meant nothing. I just need some money to get a hotel room. I can't stay on the street." I leaned over and said into the phone, "Mark, you should have thought about that before you spent our anniversary in the penthouse. You have the clothes on your back and your medical degree. Use them. Qley is your problem now." He started screaming, "You can't do this. That money is half mine." I laughed and said, "Actually, the bank records show that 90% of that money came from my grandmother's estate. My lawyer is already filing the paperwork to prove it was a premarital asset that I temporarily commingled. See you in court if you can afford a bus ticket to get there." I hung up and felt a wave of satisfaction. For 10 years, I had been the good wife. I was the one who remembered birthdays, the one who cooked the holiday meals, and the one who kept the peace. I was the one who made sure his family was taken care of while they treated me like a walking ATM. Qley was always the golden child, who could do no wrong, even when she was stealing from my purse as a teenager. Finding them together was the worst moment of my life, but it was also the clearest. It was the moment I realized I didn't owe anyone anything. The divorce was messy, but I had the best representation money could buy. Since I had the photos and the hotel records, the judge wasn't very sympathetic to Mark's emotional distress over being broke. I managed to keep the house and the majority of the savings. Mark had to move in with his parents, who are now struggling because I stopped paying their mortgage. Qley tried to sue me for emotional damages because I got her evicted, but the judge threw it out within 5 minutes. She's currently working at a diner and living in a studio apartment that smells like old grease. I remember the final day in court. Mark looked like he had aged 20 years. He tried to approach me in the hallway. "Elena, can we just talk for 1 minute? For old time's sake?" I looked at him and said, "For old time's sake, I'm glad I found out when I did. I would have hated to waste another 10 years on a man who didn't even have the decency to cheat with a stranger." He asked, "Do you hate me?" I told him, "Hate requires energy, Mark. I don't hate you. I don't feel anything for you at all. You're just a stranger who used to live in my house." I saw Qley standing by the exit. She looked at me with so much venom in her eyes. "You think you won, don't you?" She hissed. "You're still alone." I walked up to her, leaned in close, and whispered, "I'd rather be alone in a mansion with $300,000 than be with a man who cheats with his own family members in a rented room. Enjoy your life, Qley. You've earned every bit of it." I walked past her and didn't look back. The story spread through our town like wildfire. The church group Mark's mother belonged to ended up dropping her because they were so disgusted by the scandal. Mark's medical practice suffered too. Nobody wants a doctor who lacks basic ethics and common sense. He ended up losing his partnership in the clinic and had to take a job at an urgent care center in a different county. Every time he sees a patient, I hope he remembers that he could have had everything if he just hadn't been so greedy. I've spent the last 6 months traveling. I went to Bali, then Paris, then Tokyo. I posted photos of every single trip on my social media, making sure it was public so their family could see exactly what they were missing out on. I received a few emails from Mark's sisters begging for forgiveness and asking for loans to help their parents. I deleted them without reading. The Bank of Elena is closed forever. I'm sitting on a balcony in Italy right now, writing this. The sun is setting over the ocean, and I have a glass of the most expensive wine I could find. My phone buzzed a few minutes ago. It was a notification that Mark's final belongings had been picked up from the storage unit I paid for. Now, there is nothing left of him in my life. No clothes, no photos, no memories that aren't tainted by his betrayal. I'm starting fresh. People ask me if I regret being so aggressive with the money. I tell them no. If I had left him half, he would have used it to build a life with my sister. He would have used my grandmother's hard-earned money to buy her jewelry and take her on trips. Why should I subsidize their betrayal? Why should I be the bigger person while they were being the smallest people imaginable? Being the bigger person is just a phrase people use to keep victims from fighting back. I chose to fight back, and I won. My sister Qley tried to call me from a new number last week. She sounded like she was crying. "Elena, please, Mark is being mean to me. He blames me for everything. I'm so lonely." I just listened for a second. Then I said, "Qley, do you remember when we were kids and you broke my favorite doll? You told me it was my fault for leaving it out. Well, you broke my marriage, and you can't blame me for leaving the consequences out for you to deal with. Good luck." I hung up and blocked that number too. They deserve each other's misery. They can spend the rest of their lives in that tiny apartment, blaming each other for the ruin they brought upon themselves. I've realized that family isn't about blood. It's about loyalty. My brother Leo is my family. My friends are my family. Mark and Qley are just people I used to know. I'm not the same woman I was on my anniversary. I'm stronger, I'm richer, and I'm much, much smarter. I've learned that the best revenge isn't just taking the money. It's taking back your peace of mind and showing the world that you can survive anything they throw at you. I saw a photo of Mark on a mutual friend's feed recently. He was at a cheap bar, looking disheveled and miserable. He was holding a beer and staring at the floor. I looked at that photo and realized I didn't even recognize him. The man I loved was a ghost, a character I had invented in my head. The real Mark was that pathetic guy in the bar. I put my phone down and went back to my wine. The view from this balcony is much more interesting than anything he has to say. If you're going through something like this, don't let them tell you to be quiet. Don't let them tell you to be classy. Classy is for people who haven't been stabbed in the heart by their own sister. Be loud, be fierce, and take what's yours. They didn't think about your feelings when they were sneaking around, so you shouldn't think about their wallet when you're walking away. Empty the account, block the family, and start your new life. It's the best anniversary gift I ever gave myself. The funniest part of it all was the flowers. Those anniversary flowers I bought him, I found out later from the hotel, made that Qley threw them in the trash as soon as they got into the room. She was jealous of a bouquet of roses. It just goes to show how deeply insecure she was. She didn't want Mark. She just wanted what I had. Well, she has him now. She has the debt. She has the drama. And she has the man who will eventually do the same thing to her that he did to me. Because people like Mark don't change. They just find new victims. But I'm no longer on the list. I'm moving to a new city next month. A place where nobody knows about the billboard or the hotel room or the bank account. I'm going to start a business, meet new people, and maybe one day, I'll find someone who knows the value of a 10-year commitment. But even if I don't, I'm okay. I have myself, I have my dignity, and I have a very healthy bank balance. And that's more than Mark or Qley will ever have. Looking back, the betrayal was a gift. It was the universe's way of pruning the dead branches from my life so I could finally grow. I was stagnant in that marriage. I was a caretaker for people who didn't care for me. Now, I am my own priority. I am the main character of my own story, and I've made sure the ending is exactly what I wanted it to be. Mark and Qley are just a footnote in a very long and successful book. And I'm the one holding the pen. I think about that hotel room sometimes, not with pain, but with a sense of wonder at how blind I was. But blindness isn't a crime, betrayal is. I've forgiven myself for trusting them, but I will never forgive them for breaking that trust. And that's okay. Forgiveness is for people who seek it and deserve it. They did neither. So I'll just keep my photos, my lawyer, and my money, and I'll keep moving forward. The world is a big place, and I have a lot of it left to see. I hope Mark enjoys his medical shifts. I hope Qley enjoys her diner shifts. And I hope his family enjoys paying their own bills for the first time in a decade. As for me, I'm going to go order another glass of wine and watch the stars. My anniversary might have started in a hotel room with a betrayal, but it's ending on a balcony with a victory. And that's the best revenge anyone could ever ask for.